it's Andy Atkinson down here at the LNER, the third round of the championship today. The York Knights entertaining Halifax Panthers, and after last week's 1895 Cup game, should be a cracking game today. Knights need to get that first win, of course. I'll have Mick Ramsden alongside me for commentary today on RiseUpTV. Don't forget to join us for all the action, and as I say, belting game in prospect. And we'll now have a listen to Mark Applegath's thoughts on the game, York Knights coach. Yeah, kindly been joined by Mark Applegath ahead of today's game, York Knights head coach. Mark, your thoughts on today's game?
Yeah, we're expecting a big response from Halifax. You know, it's I don't think that first half went the way they wanted it, so we know that we're going to have to start big, match that, and then obviously turn it up a gear ourselves. You know, we're definitely not going to get complacent. It's a new week. We're expecting a strong response from them, but at the same time we want to build on that platform that we set last week. So it's got all makings for a great game. You know, weather's out as well, so yeah, looking forward to it. And
wanting to get off the mark in the championship, obviously very important.
Yeah, that's it. You know, I know it's only round 3, but you know, getting that first win on the board's always nice, isn't it? Just to you know, so you're not worrying about that. So yeah, we're under no illusions that we won't be resting on those laurels after last week. Let's just say that. So we're expecting a very fiery response from Halifax. You know, they're a solid team in their own right. You know, they've been flying in the league themselves. A couple of bodies back for them. So yeah, it's got all the makings for a good game.
Got a couple of bodies back yourself, just got the team sheets. Will Dagger back there on the team sheet as well. Brendan Santee comes in today, and the back, across the backs looks really strong with the return of Joe Brown as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know, definitely the back three. We've got 2 actual wingers on the wings now, and Dags is back at full back. You know, which frees up Kieran and Levi to go back into the centre spot. So yeah, they're really happy with that. But at the same time, you know, we've got to make sure that his defence's output will where it were last week. You know, I thought his defence were outstanding last week, and that were led by the middles, you know, with the inside press and the work they were doing at marker and ABC. So yeah, we've got to make sure that we get that right, and hopefully we can keep them connections strong on the edge.
Yeah, very quickly, debut for Ben Jones-Bishop. Yeah. Just come in this week from Sheffield Eagles.
Yeah, definitely. I've worked with Bish before. You know, he's what, 36 now, so he knows exactly what it's all about. So yeah, not too stressed about his positioning or anything like that, but it's great to have him back in York colours, and I'm sure he'll be a massive addition to our team this year.
Mark, all the very best today. Hope it goes well. Yeah, it's Andy Atkinson, RiseUpTV. We've kindly been joined by Kyle Eastman, Halifax Panthers coach for today's game, championship. 2 wins out of 2 for you, Kyle, in the championship. Your thoughts on today's game against York Knights?
Yeah, look, another difficult game. A team that we definitely respect and we've prepared well for. Obviously, managing to play against them last week and understanding what a good side they are. So look, we're looking forward to it. Good day for it, and hopefully we can get the job done.
Yeah, and 1 or 2 changes to your team this week. James Woodburn-Hall, does he come back in?
Yeah, Woodburn-Hall comes back in. Brandon Douglas is available, and over a couple of bits and pieces had in the past. So no, it's good. It's good to get a few lads back involved, but also, you know, I'm quite happy with the lads that also step in as well.
Yeah, a few lessons learned from last week, the way the game unfolded.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Look, you can't give a team 16-point head start, not in this league. So yeah, we've got to be smarter than that and better than that, and we will be.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks very much. Thanks for your time. Today's championship matchup. It is a repeat of last week. It is the York Knights against Halifax Panthers, and the dancing girls out here on the pitch and putting on a real display ahead of the players coming out We have had a late change to the night's lineup, and I'll give you that straight away. The two teams today, Will Dagger has pulled out in the warm-up with an injury, so Joe Brown will switch to full-back. It will be Levi Edwards and Ben Jones-Bishop on the wings for the Knights. And Ollie Field comes in off the bench to partner Kieran Buchanan in the centres. Ata Ngannou and Liam Harris are the halves. The starting forwards, Jordan Thompson and Brendan Santee, either side of Paul McShane. Jack Martin, of course, the Australian, is out through suspension. Jesse D moves from the centres into the second row alongside Connor Bailey from last week and Sam Cook, who played so well for the Knights last week. He retains his place at loose forward, and off the bench it will be Taylor Pemberton, the interchange hooker. Harvey Reynolds, Mitch Clark on his second appearance since coming in from Sheffield Eagles. Jack Teamby was the 18th man. He now moves on to the bench and bolsters that bench. That bench looks as though it's got a bit more oomph to it now, to be honest. Jude Ferreira is now the 18th man. Coach, of course, Mark Applegath quickly down the Halifax side, ahead of them coming out. It is Louis Jouffre, the Frenchman, at fullback, Ben Tibbs and Jimmy Saltonstall on the wings, Conrad Hurrell and Ben Crooks in the centres. Ben Crooks taking the place of Owen Dagnall from last week, the young man from St Helens who is out injured. Jimmy Woodburn-Hall comes in at half-back alongside George Whitby, another player on dual reg from St Helens. The starting forwards, the return of Brandon Douglas to the starting lineup. Will Colcott moving to the bench. Ronan Dixon on the other side of Adam O'Brien. Tom Inman missing. He's going through the head injury protocols. He misses out today. Irish international Zach McComb paired with Adam Tangata in the second row. And Jake Fairbank is at loose forward. The bench for Halifax today featuring three players who started last week in the 1895 Cup game. Jack Hansen, who will be the interchange hooker. Joe Hurd, former Sheffield and Dewsbury player. Will Colcott and Brad Graham. Their 18th man, Connor Davis. Coach, of course, Kyle Eastman, our referee today, is young Cameron Worsley. And we're all set for the players coming out. Mick Ramsden, looking for a cracker of a game, aren't we? It's going to be a big old start today, if you think of the way the game finished in the 1895 Cup last week.
It absolutely is. It's looking forward to a really exciting game today. Two sides that have got changed lineups, and I was saying to yourself, Andy, earlier, Carl Eastman looks like he's pumped up, wanting to play himself in this game. He's been going around his players, trying to get all his players ready for this, because they have to perform better. York were a much better team last week, and really the score didn't justify how much better York were last week.
Yeah, no, I mean, those three tries for Halifax came pretty quickly off the back of one another, and it certainly brought Halifax right back into the game, didn't it?
It did, and certainly like all three tries were well, two of the tries were from kicks and one from an interception. It was not as though they'd worked their way to a position where they scored a try and actually opened up the York defence. So they'll be looking to improve massively on last week.
Yeah. Players making their way onto the field. They'll turn and face us in the main stand here. And Cameron Worsley and his team of officials decked out in red shirts today. Important job for them as ever. Holyfield waves to someone he knows in the stand. Ben Jones-Bishop out there. No scrum cap at the moment for Ben Jones-Bishop when we saw him on his previous time with York Knights in 2021. It was a bit of a feature. Great try-scoring record at Sheffield Eagles. 58 games from 44 tries. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes today. Jamaican international, of course. Got to be the Knights kicking from right to left as we look at it from the main stand. And it is the Knights to kick off. Liam Harris in conversation with Cam Worsley at the moment. Conrad Hurrell just exchanging greetings with Akuma Tai, who's on the down carrying water today, and doubtless instructions out there for the Knights, but they look to get off to the same sort of start they did last week. Good following of Fax fans in the South Stand, certainly more in evidence than last week for the 1895 Cup match. He always looks as though he enjoys his rugby league, Connie Hurrell down there, always got a smile on his face. Here comes Liam Harris, we're about to go. Third round of the championship. Knights 2-0, Halifax 2-2. Here comes Rona Dixon, big impact as he's greeted by Brendan Santee and Sam Cook. Didn't get a lot of change out of him. Here's Brandon Douglas working hard. He was a miss last week for Sheffield. Good honest prop forward that never takes a backward step. Adam O'Brien in the 9 shirt. They go onto the left side. Adam Tangata just trying to work something, but brought to ground in centre field. Halifax moving up towards halfway. You're listening to BBC Radio York, all our frequencies and online rugby league all season long with the York Knights. Kick through, Joe Brown has come in at the last minute, or not come in at the last minute, but moved position at the last minute from wing to full back to cover for Will Dagger, who pulled up with an injury in the warm-up, and here's Holyfield off the bench for a start. Makes decent ground, well regarded by the fans in the main stand. Ben Jones-Bishop with his first carry. Vastly experienced player, former England Knight, 8 appearances in a Jamaica shirt. Played, of course, for Leeds Rhinos and Wakefield Trinity. Paul McShane prompting away Brendan Santee. The Italian international gets the Knights just over the 40. It's on the last. Will they go Hingano? They do. Hingano in the 6 shirt, lofts it up into the sun. James Saltonstall gets his first call in and completely lost the ball. The ball, well, referee Cameron Worsley has decided that possibly it came off a Knights player and Halifax get possession. What do you think of that, Mick?
I think Saltonstall kind of pulled out of that the last second. They didn't want to take it, and it wasn't due to the sun. The sun was just sort of behind him, but if they got away with that one, there could have easily been a knock-on in there somewhere. Yep,
certainly, but Halifax in possession. Brandon Douglas again. Ooh, gets a bit of a wrap round the neck, and that was Brendan Santee, puts his hand up. And the former Castleford Academy player earns the penalty for the Panthers. And it will be George Whitby. Slight half-back on dual reg from St Helens, playing in his scrum cap. I was talking to young Joe Law, who's come across him in the academy and in the reserves, and he said he didn't really show his best form last week, George Whitby. Referee Cameron Worsley having a word. Not quite sure why we're held up at the moment, but we are.
We had Conrad Howell just getting some strapping on his left leg, Andy, in back play.
Yeah, I didn't think he moved too well last week. He didn't look fully fit to me, Mick.
No, it didn't look fit. It didn't. You know, maybe there was some kind of problem there with his left leg.
Yeah.
He got a little bit of stick from the crowd there, and he just, like you say, and he just smiled at him. He's always got that smile on his face.
Yeah, there was a fabulous moment last week when the two teams were in one another's faces, and he ran round the back of his Tongan international teammate, Atengano, and just pulled his little ponytail at the back, and Atengano turned round, saw it was Connie Hurrell, and they both cracked up laughing. It was a lovely moment. Adam O'Brien, ball onto Whitby. Whitby looking for options, goes left. Keep the ball moving out there through James Woodburn Hall. And full-back Louis Jouffre in the line, but Ben Crooks has mishandled and has to admit his mistake as Will Dagger joins us just in the rows of the Knights unemployed after pulling out in warm-up, and he's limping pretty heavily coming up the stairs here. And Will just shakes his head in my direction as he goes past. Unfortunate for him. Scrum down. Knights fans in good voice down the main stand. Referee Cameron Worsley just manoeuvres the scrum. And here's Ollie Field in his yellow boots. Good contact by the Panthers. Conrad Hurrell in there in the 31 shirt. Jesse D greeted by a big old wrap round the neck, and it's a penalty. And Knights players not happy. Paul McShane and Jacob Fairbank. It was Jacob Fairbank was one of those that was at it a bit last week. There were 1 or 2 Knights players as well, I must say, for balance. So penalty, and Liam Harris looking for touch. And gets plenty of length on that. Sells over there to James Saltonstall down in front of us, and the Knights will get possession about 35 out. Actually tapping it on the 40, Ollie Field in the 20 shirt. As the noise levels go up, the Knights fans, Ate Ngannou tries to change pace and go between Douglas and Fairbank. Fairbank appealing to referee Worsley that Ngannou had lost the ball, and then Geordie Thompson batters away, tries to knock the front door down, keeps going. Eventually pulled down, 15 out. Santi running onto the ball at pace, but they're not catching the ball, and it just sails straight through him. Knights with a chance there, Mick, and the sort of wasn't too much glue that hung that move together, was there?
No, both sides making errors in good ball positions, but both similar. And Santi got a short ball off Paul McShane there, and just didn't quite get it to hand, and it went to the floor. It's a shame. It was a really good attacking opportunity that's wasted.
Yeah, Halifax ball, 5 minutes gone. BBC Radio York. It is York Knights 0, Halifax Panthers 0. That 32-20 win for the Knights last week in the 1895 Cup. Adam O'Brien prompting away for Halifax. Former Huddersfield and Bradford player. A lot of experience, Adam O'Brien. Halifax just short of halfway. O'Brien again into Brandon Douglas once more, drives Halifax over halfway. O'Brien to Dixon and Thompson meet, and you'd have to say that Ronan Dixon got the worst end of the stick there. He's battered to the floor by Geordie Thompson's challenge. High hanging kick, Joe Brown underneath it, manoeuvres well underneath it. Joe Brown just took an extra step, and that made that ball so much easier to take in for him, Mick.
He's so safe under the high ball. You know, we've lost Dagger at fullback, but Brown has stepped into his shoes, and he's a really good replacement for him.
Yeah, no swirling wind today, but that sunshine might play its part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mick Ramsden in the summariser's seat alongside me for today's game. Great to have him with me. Levi Edwards just trying to put the step on the advancing line of Halifax defence.
Conrad Hull will be off soon, Andy. I'm telling you, he can't even move.
No,
it's really struggling.
Really heavy. Looks like a hamstring problem.
They need to get him.
Yeah, and that's where they're going. Here's Edwards. Edwards with field outside him, cuts back inside. Good running by Levi Edwards until he meets Adam Tangata, and Tangata knocks him down just on halfway. Here's Liam Harris. Knights trying to spread the ball, puts the kick in, tries to get it over the back of Ben Tibbs, and the young winger takes the ball in about 10 metres infield from the far touchline, but great chase by the Knights. Led by the skipper, Liam Harris. Ben Crooks, the vastly experienced Ben Crooks. Hull KR, Castleford, Parramatta, all among his old sides. Son of Lee Crooks, of course, who you'll remember in his tenure as York coach all those years ago.
I do remember. Legend of a player.
Yeah. Halifax working away down that left side. Jouffre in the line again. Ball into the centre to James Woodburn-Hall, who missed out last week. George Whitby tries to change pace, throws the ball in the direction of Conrad Hurrell. Hurrell had to sweep it up, but Halifax have found a bit of space. James Saltonstall puts the kick in, but it's straight down the throat of Joe Brown, who was positioned really well. He saw what Saltonstall was going to do, adjusted his position to suit. But the Knights now have to get that ball out of their 10. Ben Jones-Bishop. Here's Joe Brown again. The Fax fans making their voices heard in the south stand. Ali Ali the cry. You'll have heard that a few times in your career, Mick Ramsden.
There's a good couple of hundred of them there, isn't there, Andy?
Yeah, it's a good following.
Good amount of noise.
Yeah, good atmosphere down here at the LNER this afternoon. Liam Harris goes past players, keeps the ball alive. Power play for the Knights. Kieran Buchanan on the wing, puts a little kick in. Ben Tibbs struggles to rake it in, but just about did. And Cameron Worsley initially decided that Ben Tibbs had dealt with that ball, and then I think on instruction from the touch judge, decided that the former Huddersfield Giants youngster had knocked on, and Ben Tibbs just looks at the touch judge and says, really? but Conrad Hurrell now down, and Mick Ramsden called that right. The big man's not been moving freely at all. He didn't move freely last week in that game, I didn't think. Didn't look good, and
I've got to say, I'm going to be disappointed by him going off.
Yeah.
He's what an amazing career he's had.
Yeah.
250 plus games at highest level, and I love watching him as a player, and it's a shame he's going.
Yeah, Leeds Rhinos, Gold Coast, 13 appearances for Tonga. And
oh no, he's going back.
He is coming back, but why? You'd have to ask yourself why, Mick.
Is it because they can't change?
It might be, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
they've got to play against him. It's in the back line in defence.
Yeah,
right
they've
now.
got Brad Graham to step in there. He's ready in the 20 shirt, ready to come on. But here come the Knights on this play. What can they conjure up? Hingano, Joe Brown deep, playing in that full-back position, joining the line. Cut down 15 out. They're going to go right. They're going to go to Hingano to Santi. Santi will just set the position in front of the sticks, just to the left of the sticks. Almost within 10. Hingano back to Geordie Thompson. Thompson changes pace, changes direction, but is greeted by strong Halifax defence. McShane goes short side, goes to Jesse D. There's no way for the former Mackay Cutter to find his way through there, but the Knights are within 5. Paul McShane at the play the ball to Hingano. Hingano ships the ball on to Harris. He cuts back, sees a little gap, but it closes on him. Brandon Douglas makes the tackle. Adam O'Brien also in there. On the last, what can the Knights find? Hingano kicks to the corner. Who's going to pluck that out of the air? It's been knocked back and eventually kicked dead, I think, by Ben Crooks. Yep, it was. Hingano's hanging kick causing Halifax Panthers defence wide on that left side, a few problems, and it was hacked dead by Ben Crooks in the end, and it is going to be a drop out from under the post for the Panthers, Mick. Good pressure from the Knights.
Very good, yeah, good set there. I thought the short ball earlier on was the wrong ball to Jack D when they could have got out the back at Hurrell, but needless to say, they finished the set really well, really challenging for the ball, and it took Ben Crooks to get it away to save Halifax there.
12 minutes gone, still York Knights nil, Halifax Panthers nil. Knights possibly just having the better of the exchanges as they collect that drop out from under the post and exert more pressure on this Halifax line in the form of Brendan Santi with the headband. Liam Harris, they've stacked the left side here. Johnny Thompson, good Halifax defence again. Concentrated defence. Ronan Dixon and Brandon Douglas, I think it was, that made the tackle. Then Hingano tries to find a way through and can't. They go right through Sam Cook. Sam Cook into Connor Bailey, the former Newcastle Thunder player, brought down. The Knights continue to inquire about some points, but not found any yet. Geordie Thompson again held on the last. Can the Knights get another repeat set? McShane, he's going to go left. He goes to Hingano. Hingano with a little grubber kick in behind. Flick dead. And it is a repeat set. Good work by the Halifax defender. It was Louis Jouffre, the former Batley and Avignon player, that had to flick the ball in the direction of the south stand seating. The Fax fans watch on, but it is still 0-0. You're listening to BBC Radio York. All our frequencies are online. Mick Ramsden alongside today in the summariser's seat. Jouffre with the restart kick, skips, hops, and eventually jumps into the possession of Liam Harris. And Brendan Santi once more comes battering his way forward. And Jodie Thompson, two big props really putting themselves about in this early York Knights effort. Hingano looking for options. Ball delivered behind Jesse D, and it's a knock-on. And frustrating for Jesse D as the Halifax right side defence congratulates itself on being tighter and tidier than last week, Mick, because that's where they had all the problems in the first half, wasn't it? They were breached 3 times.
Absolutely, yeah. They do right to congratulate themselves there. They've defended two sets and 2 plays in a row there, and they've come out of it with the ball from the scrum. And yeah, they're a different side this week already. They look like they're running with intent. They're running strong and they're also defending very well. I mean, they managed to get the ball out the back, kicking the ball out the back off 2 sets from 2 good York kicks, and now they're coming away with the ball.
Ben Crooks there, best part of 275 career appearances for Ben Crooks. And James Saltonstall, another one approaching the veteran stage, the Italian international.
Started at York, Andy.
He did. He came on loan from Warrington, actually, dual reg from Warrington, and I thought he acquitted himself very well. It was, I think, was it Gary Thornton's time, Mick?
Good young player.
Yeah, or Brandon Douglas, great work again. Makes good ground in the centre of the field for Halifax. O'Brien, Fairbank, Jimmy Woodburn, all trying to find his way through. Offloads back to O'Brien to Jouffre. Jouffre looking to try and put the kick in on the left side of the attack for Halifax, but eventually brought to ground by that right side defence, orchestrated by Liam Harris. Connor Bailey and Kieran Buchanan there. Little chip over the top, bounces back towards Halifax. Big chance, George Whitby scores. Fabulous bit of work, little chip over the top, and he got the favourable bounce. Came straight back towards the advancing Halifax players. And the young man who is on dual registration from St Helens gets the first try of the game. And the Halifax Panthers are 4-0 up after 16 minutes. Mick, Andy, bit of work.
Yeah, I watched him last week, and he's quite an elusive player, the lad from St Helens who's come on a dual reg, and he's only a young kid, I think he's only young, teenager, and he's done something there, like he's chipped the ball up in the air, and he's got one of those, those terrible bounces that, that's why I say don't let a rugby ball bounce, but the York players just couldn't get to it, and it bounced back towards him. He collected and scored. For a good bit of skill there for the first try for Halifax.
Yeah, George Whitby, it is, with the try in the scrum cap on his dual reg from St Helens. And there was nothing on really when he took that ball, but that chip over the top and that favourable bounce means that Halifax Panthers lead 4-0. Mitch Clark waiting to be introduced to the equation for the Knights. I think we've got a bit of trouble with the telecoms out there, by the way. They're either that or they're scratching one another's back, Mick. Which do you think it is? And still some adjustments there. Somebody's not tuned into the right frequency. I hope our listeners are.
Hopefully. Halifax fans are making themselves heard as well at this end now.
Yeah, Louis Jouffre waits patiently and eventually can plant the ball on the kicking tee just to the left of the post. But George Whitby just chipped over the Knights' defence from about 12 metres out, and the bounce favoured Halifax. And Jouffre, right-footed kicker, and just eases the ball over the post, collects his scrum cap, which will go back on his head. And it is 6-0 to the Panthers.
York will be disappointed. They've had a couple of chances where they've had really good field position and blown it. One with a drop ball by Santi, and the second with the ball that came. I can't remember what passed the ball to Jack D, but he just kind of went behind him a little bit and he knocked it on. It's a shame because York should have come away with points for them 2 sets.
And Knights nearly got a bonus there because that drilled kick from Liam Harris, it evaded George Whitby and Ronan Dixon had to deal with it, and he fended it. It flew up in the air, but he managed to get his hands under it before it hit the deck, when he looked for all the world as though the Knights might benefit from a handling error. So Halifax safely back in possession, leading 6-0. Big challenge by Geordie Thompson. Just repelling the Halifax player. I think it was Adam Tangata as he tried to come out of defence, and then Jake Fairbank in centre field. And Ronan Dixon spent the season with Dewsbury last season. I did speak to Ronan ahead of last week's game, and he said it was a really difficult season at Dewsbury, and I think he was glad to move on. Long kick downfield, jags back towards Levi Edwards. Edwards, who back enjoying his rugby after 18 months of misery out through injury. just going back to that try for Halifax, it was a lovely enterprising bit of work, and when something like that comes off, it is magical, you know, to just unhitch a defence like that. And if it works the other way, if it bounced towards the York Knights player and they'd gone the length of the field because of the broken field behind George Whitby, he'd have been hung out to dry. But fabulous bit of work from the kid.
Yeah, he's a class player. He's certainly showing up a lot better this week.
Yep. That's Ingano trying to make the gap, just probing this right side defence. Brad Graham just trying to leave his foot in there as Adam Ingano played the ball. McShane to Harris. Harris spiralling high kick, and Giuffre, who dropped a couple last week, safe under that one. And then Ben Tibbs adds a bit of pace. And Halifax clearing the lines well here, working well the back three. Giuffre, Saltonstall and Tibbs all involved. So important to take the pressure off and some of the workload off your big men as well, particularly on a day like today, Mick Ramsden.
It is, Andy, yeah. You need your backs to get in there. It's very, very warm day today.
Tangata.
Played at a fast pace as well this game, Andy.
Yeah, good forward momentum from the big fellas from Halifax. They've linked up well today. Brandon Douglas not going too far there as Jesse D and Jody Thompson catch up with him, but George Whitby puts the kick in, the try scorer, and that's a good kick. It's well measured. It's been knocked on, and yeah, Halifax thinking Brad Graham, I think it was. No, it wasn't Brad Graham, but Halifax thinking that maybe they were going to get over with that loose ball, but not able to do so. And so, and over nice possession. It was Zach McComb, the Irish international, that got on the end of the loose ball. Pulled back by referee Worsley. Still 6 points to 0 to Halifax Panthers. Mitch Clark now in the action. Second game back at the Knights from Sheffield. Scruffield played the ball, but he got away with it. And the Knights just some of that early endeavour and vim and vigour has just dissipated with that Halifax try, Mick.
It has a bit, yeah.
And it's bolstered Halifax from a defensive point of view. They're keen to get in there and bang the tackle in.
It is. They're just slightly shading it, Halifax.
Knock on for Sam Cook. And off the back of that, a little error from the former Albi player in the French Elite League. Another player who spent time at Mackay Cutters out in Australia, the Kiwi.
They'll be disappointed with the errors, York, giving them easy possession back.
Yeah, they've not had the start they had last week in the 1895 Cup game. And Halifax got the first blow in on 16 minutes, that try by George Whitby, the half-back. That's the sort of thing that a coach will turn around and say, I told you I got it right, when his selection at half-back was Whitby rather than Hanson.
Yeah, well, they know, at the end of the day, they all, you know, they're training together, working combinations, and, it's probably Kelly Eastman has seen things going on there that he thinks this is the right combination for this game.
Yep, Adam O'Brien in for Tom Inman today, who's out with the HIA protocol. I think it's 11 days he'll have to serve before he can come back. Player who had a period on loan for the York Knights. O'Brien, and then Joe Hurd is out there now. Spent some time with Dewsbury on loan from Sheffield. Left side again. They like that left side. Halifax, ball's coming out this time. Adam Tangata tried to get the offload and built like a bar of soap in the end. Ended up on the bathroom floor.
Tricky one when a player tries to pull the ball round to get an offload and the defender's tight on the ball.
I think this is a penalty, Mick.
Out.
I think this is a penalty.
Yep.
I don't know whether he's awarded it for a high shot, but referee Cameron Worsley has indicated that Louis Giuffre is going to try and tag the 2-on. So that ball coming out of the grasp of Adam Tangata was illegally eased out. Whether it was a rattle around the face or 2 in at the tackle and a rip, I'm not sure, but
I suspect it's classed as a rip.
A penalty, yeah. So Louis Jouffre with the opportunity to just slightly extend the Panthers' lead. Top of the championship table as we speak. And after a bit of a season in the doldrums last year with one thing and another, they've started well under Kyle Eastman. Jimmy Lowe's, of course, the assistant coach. And Louis Jouffre puts that one through the post. Halifax lead 8 points to 0. Louis Jouffre, 32 games for the Panthers last season, almost an ever-present, I think, and 244 points. It's a good total. And the Knights will just be calling for a little bit bigger effort here. Liam Harris about to get us underway again. That blow losing Will Dagger in the warm-up. And that's gone out on the full. That's just absolutely what the Knights didn't need. Elementary schoolboy error, Mick Ramsden.
Absolutely. Just as you say, Andy, in the time of the game where they just didn't need that at all. They're just losing the way a little bit, York here.
Yep. 25 minutes gone. Halifax lead 8 points to 0 in the Rugby League Championship. George Whitby in his scrum cap belts the ball into the main stand. The gentleman there was hopeful of catching it, and he was about 10 metres away. Oh, Brad Graham. England Youth International at one time. Spent time with both Dewsbury and Casford Academy. I think he came through, Brad Graham. Fairbank busy as ever. Bobby Fairbank. As Halifax look to set the position to try and increase this 8-0 lead. Brandon Douglas working hard again. He's had a really, really bright start to the game, the prop forward. Woodburn Hall onto Jouffre in the line, and then Tangata. And he's lost the ball this time, and this time he's lost it legally, so to speak. Referee's decided that there's no advantage for the Knights, so it will be scrum down in centre field.
Just watching number 32, the young lad from St Helens, George Whitby. When he played last week with Jack Hansen in the team, Jack Hansen was more dominant of the two. He was pushing the team around, and they didn't seem as dynamic in the go forward, especially in the structure of the team. Whereas this lad here now is hovering around behind the player of the ball and is directing the team around. And it's probably what he does in his youth team that he's played at Saints. Yeah. But he's a quality player, and he's maybe Eastman's just giving him the job of actually directing the team, and it's working at the moment.
Yeah, well, Kyle Eastman, he was a half-back, wasn't he, in his playing days? So he's certainly got a good mentor there.
Yeah.
Joe Brown, Halifax trying to haul him to the touchline, but Brad Graham failing. 5 metres infield. And then Atingana, who's not really sparked up to now, he's been well watched, the Tongan international. Gets the offload this time into Geordie Thompson, looks for options. Nobody really put their hand up to say, I want that ball. So Geordie Thompson, as he does, the old horse, just runs the ball in, takes the tackle. Max Shane, another one who's not really sparked yet in this opening 25, going on 30 minutes for the Knights. They trail 8-0. You are with BBC Radio York, and suddenly the ghost has gone through. Liam Harris chips over the full-back, foot race, knocked to the ground. This is going to be a penalty to the Knights, and should be. I think there's a possibility of a professional foul and someone going to the bin here. Liam Harris, he found a gap, saw Louis Jouffre in front of him, chipped the ball over Jouffre, and then there were 2 Halifax players involved, and already I think one of the Halifax players is coming to the bin. Yeah, it had to be. So Halifax are a player down. I'm not sure if it's not Zach McComb that's making his way towards us.
Lovely dummy there, lovely dummy by Liam. What it is with the Halifax defence are getting up really, really quick, and on that occasion they flew up in a staggered line, and there was a hole appeared, and Liam Harris was good enough to spot that, made a fantastic break down the middle.
Yeah, So it was Liam Harris. He eased through the gap and then chipped over the top. And it is the Irish international, Zach McComb, who's been sent to the bin. Halifax down to 12 as the Knights are camped under those posts. Paul McShane, he goes right to Liam Harris. Liam Harris was hoping to deliver that ball into Connor Bailey, running on the angle, but not able to do so. Has to take the tackle, the skipper. And then straight at the front door is Jack Teamby, but great defence from Halifax. Ronan Dixon strong. They go short side. Harris pokes the ball through. And the Halifax scrambling defence is good enough. Knight still 5 metres out, tight to the far touchline. Here's Harris again, goes to Ingano. Knights have players over here if they use this. Levi Edwards has to cut back inside, tries to get up ahead of steam, ball comes loose. And it's a knock-on, and Halifax have escaped, and that's well appreciated by the Halifax fans in the South Stand. They're all on their feet.
No, not the way. It's not the way. Just forcing it. They want last tackle, Andy, was it?
No, don't think so.
There's no need for Levi to try and force the ball. Similarly, unfortunately, the little kick through that Liam Harris tried. Now, I know it's good to try things and all of that, but it was early in the tackle count. He did that because Halifax are shooting up really, really quickly. And they got lucky, or the ball ricocheted off the Halifax players and they got the ball back. But they just need a little bit more control, in the sets.
Yep. A little bit of anxiety in that Knights attack, with the player advantage as well, of course, with Zach McComb off the field. But Halifax are safely back in possession. James Saltonstall over there, a long way from his right wing. His old Satnav lost its bearings for a second. Oh, good work by Adam O'Brien, out to play the ball, hacked on by Ben Crooks, and now it's a foot race. Jimmy Woodburn-Hall's going for it. Holyfield, great work, chasing back. Jimmy Woodburn-Hall originally looked favourite. He's got up and he's limping in that race downfield. But Holyfield beat him to the ball, and it was important for the Knights. Great work by Adam O'Brien to get them going out of their own half there, Halifax, Mick.
It was, and it was just like they switched off. The York defence just switched off around the play of the ball, and they're playing quick, Halifax. And Adam O'Brien will spot that, and he'll get through. He'll get through.
Early kick from Hingano with nobody home. Ball bouncing towards the try line. Louis Jouffre, what a measured kick that is. Good chase by the Knights. Jesse D's got hold of Jouffre, pulled him down 5 metres from his own line. Clever kick by Ata Ingano, and a great chase.
Great chase, and I'll tell you what, you've got to be fit to play this game, Andy. It's gone end to end, hasn't it?
Yeah. Knights have got to make sure they don't get pinged for offside here, because they're coming off that defensive line very, very quickly. I'm trying to get a look at James Woodburn-Hall to see whether that's a hamstring injury he suffered chasing that kick through from Ben Crooks. Halifax back in possession. Knights trying to restrict them. Here's Will Colcott off the bench. Former Siddle player. On the last, George Whitby from deep in his own half. Rifles it downfield. Levi Edwards pulls out of it, and Joe Brown had made the position. Takes the ball in safely. Decent kick though from Whitby. And the Halifax chase is pretty good.
York players getting back. No wonder they're tired here. Been up and down the pitch 3 times in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Ben Jones-Bishop. I do understand Ben Jones-Bishop signed from Sheffield this week. I do understand that Gould Vikings were making overtures to him. But he has chose to come back to the Knights. Mitch Clark just about gets the Knights up to halfway. They still trail 8-0. It is BBC Radio York with our full match commentary. Week in, week out, home or away.
Just need a good end here, haven't they? They need to end the set strong.
Halifax defence good again. Brad Graham this time. Paul McShane it is that delivers the kick. High hanging kick, Jouffre, and he spilled that one, and Jack Teamby goes past him. Teamby still going, knocked down by a brilliant covering tackle, which may well have been Adam Tangata, but big chance here for the Knights. Halifax defence somehow manages to reconvene. Try to get the Knights player over the line to go back to the 10, can't do so. Right under the post, it was Mitch Clark McShane, ball quickly back to Harris. Harris looks for options, goes to Brown in the line. Buchanan, chance in the corner. And it's been knocked on. And it will be back to the 20. Knights denied again. And it was Ben Jones-Bishop, I think, that was caught over there in the corner on 33 minutes and denied the try.
Great work on the right there. Well, whatever happened in that, it's in the far corner, Andy, so we can't see the detail, but if he knocked on or went into touch, but it was good play by York. But Jack Teamby, he backed himself to get over the line, and he had Holyfield on his left, he would have walked in, and he never gave him it.
So some wrong options by the Knights, and Halifax escape again, but testament to Halifax's defence, Mick.
Absolutely, yeah, I mean, wow, they're very, very strong in defence this week.
It remains 8-0. Ben Jones-Bishop denied a try on his second York Knights debut. George Whitby just gets Joe Hurd going forward. 42 out. O'Brien becoming more and more influential and starting to torment the Knights' defence. Whitby again with the kick. Hint of offside about Saltonstall. And Levi Edwards, I think it was, who's taken the ball in, but it's going to be a drop out from under the post. He caught it in the field of play and then dropped back behind his own try line.
He's put that kick right on the spot, hasn't he?
It is, yeah. It was a very, very clever kick.
And he's handling all of the kick in as well, that lad.
Conversation going on with Kyle Eastman on the touchline, him and George Whitby. Still talking to George Whitby. Very animated down there, Kyle Eastman at the moment, the Halifax Panthers coach. But the Knights have to drop out from under the posts, and Halifax on the front foot at the moment. They lead 8-0. We've got 5 minutes to the break. End over end spiralling kick towards Louis Jouffre. Catches this one successfully, goes to Colcott. And Colcott eventually held Connor Bailey. Jack Teamby in at the tackle for the Knights. Taylor Pemberton now out there replacing Paul McShane. What can the former St Helens Academy player add to the Knights' effort? Whitby, dummies one way, goes back the other way. Halifax look dangerous again down that left side attack. They go that way through O'Brien. Floated ball over the top from James Woodburn Hall, but good impact out there by Ben Jones-Bishop that knocks the Halifax winger Ben Tibbs into touch. And it remains 8-0.
Just what they needed there. They didn't want to be getting another score against them there before half-time.
Our fourth official today, very slightly built young man who looks about 17 or 18 years of age, and Kyle Eastman's giving him the absolute rounds of the kitchen down here on the touchline. Poor young fella. He's responded very well, in fairness. Levi Edwards trying to get the Knights out of their 30. Pemberton, that pass going adrift and tidied up by Mitch Clark. And then a knock. Oh no, gone backwards according to Worsley. And then a pass from Holyfield into Levi Edwards. And at the moment, there's no oil in the Knights gearbox. It's the it's all frantic stuff with no sort of cohesion whatsoever. And Holyfield just passed the ball to Levi Edwards, who wasn't at home. And that was after they got away with one, because I was pretty sure that Taylor Pemberton had knocked on.
They don't need to be chasing it as much as they appear to be.
Just trying to force things all the time. They trail 8-0, yeah.
It's only 8-0, and they're not building any pressure whatsoever. They're making errors, and they just need to string some sets together with good ends, and it's not happening for them at the moment.
So Adam O'Brien again to Joe Hurd. Halifax once more in good field position, full set in front of them. Whitby in the scrum cap to Fairbairn. Working hard, Jake Fairbairn. O'Brien wants that ball quick, didn't get it too quickly. Oh, and then a little run around, little trick there by Adam O'Brien. Almost got him clear of the Knights' defence. Real bag of tricks today, the hooker. getting a start with Tom Inman out injured. Louis Jouffre to Whitby, both playing in scrum caps. Halifax in the Knights 10, they go short side again. Jouffre just steps off the left foot, but into Knights defenders. Well, the Knights try-line defence, will it hold up? Ball in the air a long time there for Whitby, puts a little kick in behind the Knights line. Ate Ngano, can he get back into the field of play? I think he might well have done so, has he?
No, don't think so, Andy.
I'm just looking at Cameron Worsley's signal. No, he didn't get back. Good chase from Halifax again.
Yet again, another kick.
Yeah.
Very, very good kick from Whitby. Along the ground this time.
In fairness to Atingano, a lot of players would have just given that up and trotted back over the dead ball line, but he did make a big effort to try and get back into play, but just too many Halifax troops came to greet him. Jack Hansen about to come in for Halifax. That'll be, I think, in place of Adam O'Brien. Halifax, who lost Zach McComb, but McComb's just gone back on, and they've dealt with that 12 men for 10 minutes really well, Mick Ramsden.
They have.
Here's Tangata again. Cook Island International, of course. Spent some time at Wakefield and a previous spell at Halifax before that. Nice offload there, disguised offload by James Woodburn Hall into Joe Hurd. Joe Hurd straightens the line. Halifax once more. Pressure in the York Knights line. They lead 8-0. BBC Radio York. Full match commentary on a Sunday. O'Brien tries to go for the line, and Knights were off the defensive line very, very quickly. It was a handy bit of work by Connor Bailey in defence. On the last, will they go on the power play? They do, and Ben Crooks had to get rid of that ball very quickly under a lot of pressure from Kieran Buchanan, and in the end the ball just scuttled into touch with Ben Tibbs, having absolutely no chance of collecting it.
That was such an important set for York, and they came up with the goods there. I mean, it's so important they didn't get another score against them.
Yep.
And that, I mean, the tackle from Connor Bailey there when Adam O'Brien was so important. He got to, he's dangerous, isn't he, from acting half Adam O'Brien, and Connor spotted him and managed to turn him over before he got over the line within inches.
Yeah, he's been a real bag of tricks in the first half of Ormo Huddersfield and Bradford Hooker. Dying embers of this first half, and the Knights have not managed to get a score on the board at Ngano. Ball into Mitch Clark, but once more Halifax very concentrated, very focused in their defensive duties today. There's been none of that what we saw in the first half last week when they conceded tries at will early doors. Oh, terrible pass from Atingano, well tidied up by Jack Teamby, and it sort of just flummoxed the Halifax defence for a second or two. Teamby got an extra 10 metres on the last. Harris, what can he find? The skipper gets belted to the ground, but the Knights have got the ball wide out to Kieran Buchanan. Ball goes into touch. Liam Harris picks himself up, none the worse for wear, as he took that either well-timed or slightly late hit, whichever way you look at it. But there is the hooter for half-time, and Kyle Eastman, the Halifax Panthers coach, just down in front of me, looking reasonably well satisfied with what his team have delivered in the first half. And they have got the lead here at the LNER Stadium, well appreciated by the Halifax fans who are finding their voice in the South Stand. The Knights will come off, and they'll need some big words from coach Mark Applegath at half-time. They've had opportunities, they've not managed to take them. A little bit of over-anxiety at times, just looking at Atingano to see if he's got a knock as the physio comes off with him. Just wondering whether he's holding Atingano's hand there, but some fidgety spectators who are making their way for their half-time coffee obscured my view as the players disappear up the tunnel. Mick, your thoughts on the first half?
Halifax have been the better team, there's no doubt about that. York they've had opportunities, like you say, Andy, that they've blown, and that's through losing the ball or poor decision making. And they could have had points on the board, and unfortunately they haven't. I think playing against 12 men, I think they felt a little bit like they needed to score, and they were pushing it too much. And you know, I'm sure that that Mark Applegath will be telling them that the opportunity is gone now, and Halifax are back to a full 13. But Halifax, on the other hand, have come and they're playing direct, and they're playing very. I mean, the young lad, we mentioned him a few times now, George Whitby, he is actually running the show this week. And he's got the added, you know, the options of Woodburn Hall coming into it. He's very strong with the ball. Jules Frey's looking very, very sharp, and Adam O'Brien coming out at half. They've got threats all over the pitch. So York can take, a lot of, how can I put it? They can praise for the way that they've defended at times, because they've been under the cosh at times, particularly towards the end of that half there, and they've managed to defend the line, and that's commendable to them. To go in 8-0. They just need to come back and play more direct in the second half and try and complete the sets more.
Yeah, the changes that Kyle Eastman has made, when you look at the likes of Ben Crooks and Brandon Douglas, James Woodburn Hall, they've eased their way into the game, haven't they, Halifax? And as you say, they've certainly had the better of the exchanges from 15 minutes on.
Without a doubt, and I do believe that the fact that Jack Hansen isn't on the pitch alongside George Whitby, giving George Whitby, you know, the room to control the game. His kicking has been good as well, right on the buttons, particularly when he's kicked to our left side, their right side. It's been right on the button, and the chasing, the Halifax chasers have been really up there, putting pressure on York. We've dealt with it mostly, and in other areas they've got a few dropout. You know, they've got the pinned us back behind our own line a few times. It's an interesting game. We're in it, we're well in it, and you know, the second half, you know, it'd be interesting to see how we ought to go.
Yeah. Mick Ramsden there in the summariser seat, quickly through that action of the first half, and the young fellow that he mentioned, 16 minutes it was. Knights seemed to have the upper hand in that first 15, but on 16 minutes the game changed, and it was enterprising work. Louis Jouffre was stopped wide out on the left, about 15 metres out. But George Whitby, the half-back, picked that ball up, chipped over the top, got a favourable bounce, ball bounced back towards him, who was able to collect and go over for the try. Louis Jouffre got the conversion, and then just about 4 minutes later, Halifax were awarded a penalty, a rip we think it was, on Adam Tangata as he attacked down the left channel. And Louis Jouffre took the opportunity to pop that one over. Liam Harris put the restart kick out on the full to no real detrimental value to the Knights. They managed to recover from that. But on 29 minutes, Liam Harris chipped over the top, and in a foot race with Louis Jouffre and Zach McComb going back to defend for Halifax, he was impeded by McComb. McComb went to the bin with a yellow. The Knights tried to run it, forced the pass, and the ball went to ground. On 33 minutes, Ben Johns-Bishop looked as though he might get in at the right corner after Louis Jouffre dropped a high hanging kick, but he either mishandled or was forced in to touch wide out there after Jack Teenby had more or less ignored Ollie Field, who was in support when he picked up Jouffre's loose ball. So it was a tale in that first half of missed opportunities for the Knights, and Halifax just looking very, very solid defensively. We'll hand you back to James Hogarth in the studio. We'll be back with all the action of the second half with the score here at half-time at the LNER. York Knights 0, Halifax Panthers 8. on all our frequencies and online. And Knights fan from the other end of the country, lives in Cornwall. He made a point before the game. He said it'll be harder than last week, and they need to put in 80 minutes, the Knights. That was Dave Smallwood down there. And he's not wrong, and they need a big 40 minutes now, Mick.
Absolutely do, yeah, they really do. Still, you know, they're in the game, 8-0, but they do need to go up a couple of gears in the second half. They need to meet fire with fire at the moment.
Yeah, I say it so many times, but this first score after half-time is absolutely vital today.
Absolutely.
As that sun descends a little bit lower into the corner between the south and west stands, and it'll start to play tricks on us with our vision and what we can see down in that corner, Mick, as the afternoon goes on.
Yeah, it's going to be tough over there.
Yeah, it's our excuse anyway. Taylor Pemberton on for Paul McShane.
No,
terrible pass from Liam Harris. Right down in front of us. He was aiming for Ben Jones-Bishop. There was no fault of Ben Jones-Bishop because the ball drifted, 2 metres forward anyway?
Easy.
Just the application, I'm afraid, from the skipper. So they've already handed the initiative to Halifax, who'll get the ball on the Knights 40. 8 points to 0. I'll give you those starting lineups if you've just joined us. The Knights, they lost Will Dagger in the warm-up, so Joe Brown at full-back. It's Levi Edwards and Ben Jones-Bishop on the wings, Kieran Buchanan, Ollie Field in the centres, Hatta Ngannou, Liam Harris in the halves, Geordie Thompson, Paul McShane, Brendan Santee, Jesse D, Connor Bailey and Sam Cook with the starting forwards. Taylor Pemberton, Jack Teamby, Harvey Reynolds and Mitch Clark off the bench. The only one we've not seen up to now is Harvey Reynolds. Now I'll hesitate before I give you the Halifax side because they are on the Knights 30 at the moment. George Whitby, the one try scorer of the game from a lovely little bit of work, a chip over and collecting his own kick on 16 minutes. The other score being a Louis Jouffre penalty and a Louis Jouffre conversion. Tangata, he's had a good game today, the big Cook Island man. Been strong down that left side of the attack. George Whitby, little trick again, just shows the ball in the direction of Zach McComb and then takes the tackle, but Halifax into the Knights 10, looking for something on that right side. Brad Graham puts the kick in, and it's had to be knocked dead by Joe Brown. Well measured by Brad Graham. Halifax get the repeat set, that Halifax side.
Just what York didn't need is pressure like this. It's all come about from that poor pass from Liam Harris into touch.
Yep. Louis Jouffre at full-back, Ben Tibbs, Conrad Hurrell, who's gone off injured, Ben Crooks, Jamie Saltonstall across the backs, James Woodburn Hall and George Whitby at half-back, Brandon Douglas, Adam O'Brien, Ronan Dixon, Zach McComb, Adam Tangata and Jake Fairbank, the starting forwards, and off the bench, Jack Hansen, Joe Hurd, Will Colcott and Brad Graham, who are all involved. And then James Woodburn Hall almost through a gap. Taylor Pemberton just about hangs on to his coattails, but the Jamaican international has got Halifax to within 6 metres. Whitby, flat ball, Jouffre, missed tackle. And it was Atta Hingano with the missed tackle, and Jouffre, clever footwork, just set off as if he was going to go right, cut back, and defeated the attempted tackle of Hingano, who was off the line quickly, and maybe just a little bit too quickly for his own good. 44 minutes, that first score of the second half has arrived, Mick. And we feared, from a York Knights point of view, that it might go Halifax's way, and it has.
And it has, and it's the pressure that they put themselves under. The A and B defender, there was too much space in between them earlier in the set when Woodburn Hall almost got through. And then again, the defence was just not set. And the try came from that, and you know that's not what York needed in the second half.
Yeah, so Louis Jouffre, the Frenchman, formerly with Whitehaven, Avignon in the French Elite League. He also signed for the failed Ottawa project, Ottawa Aces, that never came to a fruition under Eric Perez, who then turned his attention to Cornwall and then turned his attention elsewhere. Here's Jouffre. He just stirs the old bathwater there with the wafting of the hand, and then somehow from just to the right of the post manages to hit the post. How did he miss that, Mick?
Absolutely no idea. He's got the sun to his right. It's not like the sun was a problem.
No, it was a very, very poor kick from there, to be honest with you. So, the Knights
Lifeline.
remain just 12 points to nil, but they are now 3 scores adrift. And the Knights to restart. Trailing 12 points to nil, early stages of the second half. Restart kick, lost over the head of Brad Graham and into touch. So the Knights, first little glimmer of the second half from the restart kick, mishandled by Halifax Panthers. Managed to get the ball inside the Halifax 20 here. But they certainly need a little bit more composure and cohesion than they showed in attack in the first half. Taylor Pemberton in his bright fluorescent boots goes to Mitch Clark in the 33 shirt. Pemberton again, the drum rattling away up the main stand here. Knights fans. Connor Bailey tries to force over and can't do so. Another player that started his career at Wakefield Trinity, Connor Bailey. Pemberton to Thompson. Thompson tries to go past Will Colcott, and Colcott manages to get a hold of him and drag him down with a little bit of help. Jack Teamby, another man trying to burst straight through the centre of the Halifax defence with no success. Pemberton back to Hingano. Hingano readjusts, goes to Harris. Ball being swept onto the right side. Kieran Buchanan tries to step back inside Halifax tacklers. Halifax player gone down in back play and looks injured. The referee Cam Worsley just needs to pull play to a halt here. Possibly just got his head in the wrong place in the tackle. Physio there very quickly, Mick. Good to see.
Yeah, I think the referee spotted that straight away. He's obviously had a bang to the head here, so it's the right thing to do. York on the last play, when they get to play this ball, somehow have got to conjure up a good end here, a repeat set or something, which is more difficult now. Play stopped and the defence is now going to get set, so they need to find something though.
So at the moment, it is attention to the Halifax player. I can't tell you who it is at the moment. He's laid on his back and his head well away from us at the opposite end to where we're looking from. And now another Halifax attendee gets in my way. And 1 or 2 people returning to their seats after half-time. It may be James Woodburn Hall, I think.
Possibly.
Sort of half sat up at the moment. It looks as though he might be about to ease himself back to his feet. He does. Comes up with a bit of a spring there. Yeah, a blow to the face, I think.
Yeah.
It's got. It used to be the magic sponge. I think that's the magic flannel he's got there, Mick. By the look of it.
It'll be sterilised, something sterilised. It's going off. Must
Certainly will be. These looks as though it's a belt to the nose end. Yeah. And Jack Hansen goes out there, the former Swinton Sheffield player, 100+ appearances for Swinton. And Jimmy Woodburn Hall, the Jamaican international, comes off with a blow to the nose. Here come the Knights. Harris to Hingano. Out on the left side to Joe Brown. Ollie Field brought down 5 out. Tight to the far touchline. The Knights trail 12-0. Hingano again puts a kick in behind the defence. Chance here for the Knights. Cannon's off the post and Cannon's into Halifax possession. And once more Halifax get the run of the ball. Clever kick from Hingano. Struck the post. Whether he was aiming at it or not, we don't know. But it was dropped on by a Halifax defender, and Halifax are safely back in possession. And it remains 12-0. And the Knights still not really got a strike in at this Halifax line.
Aiming at the post is not a bad thing, and it's, you know, you don't know where it's going to go, but in that case it went to Halifax hands, but it's not a bad thing to do that. Oh, York, come on.
Yeah, not good work. Mitch Clark and Taylor Pemberton. I think Taylor Pemberton was appealing that Zach McComb had hold of his shirt, but no, poor work. Conceded a penalty, and at the moment, the Knights, they needed to come out with something better in the second half, and at the moment, they're a way off. Oh, George Whitby, clever measured kick into touch. Halifax will get the ball on the 40. Ben Crooks has already tapped it and gone, and gets to the 30. Taylor Pemberton trying to borrow his right leg. Good work again out the play the ball. Adam O'Brien wrapped round the shoulder, according to referee Cam Worsley. That it arrested his progress, that is for sure. It was Kieran Buchanan, the Scottish international, with the tackle, and I say tackle in inverted commas because a lot of refs would have pulled that one.
They would. He got away with that one, and he wants square at marker.
O'Brien to Jouffre. Jouffre on to Hansen, moving the ball onto the right side. You know, I think another Halifax try here would kill this game.
Yeah, it's such an important set here. They've got to work hard, York.
Very hazy out there on the far corner, right side of the Halifax attack as the sun shines through between the stands. Halifax brought down, 6 out. Options. O'Brien goes to Whitby. Whitby with the short ball. Ball comes out of the possession.
Good play. Well done, York.
And I think it was Adam Tangata that's mishandled. Ball fired at him quick with players up in his face. Yeah, good defence that time, Mick.
Yeah.
Knights will kick off the line and close the options down very quickly. That's good work from Ben Jones-Bishop. Strong work. Knights with a long way to go, though. Levi Edwards in off his wing. Eventually hauled back just inside the Knights 30. Harvey Reynolds not yet involved. Looks as though he might be getting an introduction down here. Brendan Santi with his hands on his hips. Mitch Clark keeps the ball alive into Jack Teamby. Teamby makes an extra 5. This referee's not happy here somewhere and has given Halifax a penalty. With leading with the elbow, Mick.
Looks that
Is that
way,
what
yeah.
he signalled? Leading with the elbow? And I could only assume that must have been Jack Teamby. But Halifax are going to, I would think, oh, no, George Whitby's going to ping this into touch. They fancy another try here to the West Yorkshire side.
Poor play from York. Why is Hingano giving a ball like 2 metres away from himself to a static runner? They've got to ramp up. They've got to ramp up and take the ball forward at pace.
He's not had one of his better days on the Tongan International. Halifax have been very aware of him, and he's not really sparked. It's another penalty on this time.
The rule, Andy, he lost control of that.
Paul McShane.
And
yeah.
Jordan Thompson over the top. I'm sure it was him anyway. And he lost control, and the ball comes out, and they give a penalty for a refoul, and it's wrong.
51 minutes gone, and it was Brad Graham this time.
Because why on earth would you steal the ball in that situation? You would not. You just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, Jordan Thompson it was who the perceived offender. And Louis Jouffre will look to add 2 points to the total. Time ticking away for the York Knights. Same place he missed from. Same place he rattled the right-hand post and it rebounded out. Just to the right of the post. Will the Frenchman adjust his sights? Strokes that one.
What about that?
That is unbelievable. He has hit exactly the same post in exactly the same place from exactly the same place. I've never ever seen that.
That is unbelievable.
He struck the right-hand post again as Louis Jouffre. And Knights fans seen something they didn't like there in that tackle on Ben Jones-Bishop. And Halifax very quickly off the line. And if that wasn't a shoulder charge, I don't know what was.
He's hurt himself, though.
Yeah, but it was a shoulder charge all day, every day. Jake Fairbank, I think, was it. And finally, the Knights have been awarded the penalty. It was actually Will Colcott with the very dodgy tackle. Anyway, the Knights have got a penalty.
Just flying up in the line, no attempt to grip. just throwing your body into players like that.
Yep, dangerous. The recoil effect of that on the neck and shoulders. Suspect that one might be looked at during the week, and not just by the Knights and Halifax. Paul McShane back out there, replaced Taylor Pemberton, and Mark Applegath just needing a little bit more guile and vision, I think. Taylor Pemberton's actually looks as though he's getting some attention to his left shoulder. There's an ice pack going under there, so that's why he's come off. Geordie Thompson has been as good as anybody for the Knights today, just driving them forward, but it's the cohesion behind that that's been the thing that's been missing. Here's McShane to Harris, going right onto Ingano. Chance here, Ingano up pace, going towards the touchline.
Did well.
Manages to stay in field just as that scrambling Halifax defence got across in the form of Ben Crooks, who's the last one off him. Harris drops the ball off to Harvey Reynolds, who is now out there for the Knights. Brendan Santi still waiting to go back on. McShane again, Knights pressing, looking for their first score of the game. Harris puts the flat kick through. It's fended dead by Halifax, and it will be 20-metre restart. Clever kick by Liam Harris to put Halifax under pressure.
Yeah, good kick in behind there with the Halifax defenders are flying up like they are. He tried one earlier on in the first half. It didn't really come off, but they got lucky and got the ball back. But he's done it there, and they've managed to get a drop out from under the post, so they received the ball. So a better end there from Liam Harris.
The coverage today, commentary from BBC Radio York. All our frequencies and online, myself and Mick Ramsden bringing you the action. But the Knights at the moment just need a little bit of magic from somewhere. They trail 12-0, 25 to go. Sam Cook, another one who's had a quiet game today, never really sparked, never really shown in the game. Certainly in an offensive sense anyway. Here's Harris again. Harris and Thompson, they've been the two that have been striving to get this York Knights side into gear. Sam Cook, just too easy for the Halifax defence at the moment, Mick.
It is the one-up stuff, it just isn't working.
Nope. McShane drives forward, runs into tacklers, but gets within the 10. Just looking at ref Cam Worsley, still a couple of tackles in the back for the Knights. Sam Cook goes short side. Jesse Dean tries to step through, can't do so.
Wasted sets. Wasted players.
Everything to the right of them here. Here's Harris, Ingano just behind him. Harris eventually gets the ball to Ingano, but it's held up, and then Ingano throws the pass that goes to ground. Did it go to ground off a Halifax player or a York player? Referee Cameron Worsley explains what he saw, and we wait for that all-important motion. Yes, Halifax player involved, so York ball, they'll continue to pressure. 24 minutes to go. Don't forget, BBC Radio York, you can get in touch with us. You can text us, start your message with the word York. 81333 is the number. Tweet us at BBC York Sport. Or on the WhatsApp, again, you have to start your message with the word York for it to get to us, but it's 08000 321 333. Be good to hear your thoughts on what is unfolding out here this afternoon. Night scrum, 25 out. McShane to Hingano. Hingano with a big gap in front of him, goes to Ben Jones-Bishop. Had to cut back inside, still going. And the Jamaican international eventually brought down 5 metres out, 10 in from the near touchline. And Halifax offside, so they will get another chance. The Knights, Ben Jones-Bishop there was herring for the corner and then realised that the Halifax scrambling defence was going to close the door on him. Here's Harvey Reynolds, bumps off a Halifax tackler, spins out of it. He's adjacent to the right-hand post. He's 5 metres out, wrestles himself free. McShane going left to Harris. Harris to Hingano, still wriggling. Hingano, Holyfield picked the ball from the almost out of the hands of a Halifax player, gets over the try line but has been held up, and this Halifax defence remarkable today, Mick.
It is.
It's
really
absolutely never say die.
York are doing the best on it. You know, they're much better attack on this set.
Ingano looked as though he'd run up a blind alley and then eventually found space to get the ball to Holyfield. He did remarkably well to take the ball out the air. Here's McShane to Harris, right side the attack. Hingano again, and Ben Crooks had got him picked out. As I say, they're very, very aware the threat the Tongan international poses. Buchanan, Harris again. How many times has he had the ball in his possession? Puts the kick in. Ball loose, picked up by Louis Jouffre as two Knights players chased the loose ball. Joe Brown was one of them. He was alive to what Liam Harris was trying to do. But Halifax are once again back in possession. And it's all about game management for the West Yorkshire side now, Mick. 12-0 up, 20 minutes to go.
It really is. And it's about hunting the mistake for York here.
Vital last quarter here for the York Knights to avoid going 3-0 for the season. Don't play next week. The next game is away at Batley. Now that won't be easy down there at Mount Pleasant, and the hill, slope, call it what you will. Poor kick out the play, the ball there from Adam O'Brien that skewed off the outside of his boot, collected by Kieran Buchanan. Mount Pleasant, Mick, if you're playing down the hill, it's a slope. If you're playing up the hill, it's a hill, isn't it?
Pretty much is, Andy.
You've played there plenty of times.
Many times. And
Hingano tries to use his pace this time to break between players. But once more, Halifax have got him. It's impervious, that front line Halifax defence at the moment. They've certainly turned up for one another today. Knights trying to give the ball more and more air. Holyfield threatening the right side Halifax defence. On the last tackle. And then a very, very slow play the ball that Brad Graham managed to disrupt. Finally, Hingano, does he realise it's on the last? They keep the ball alive. Eventually, they find Liam Harris. Eventually, he puts the kick in towards Ben Tibbs. And the former Huddersfield Academy player watches it skip into touch. Not really the outcome the Knights needed, Mick.
No, another scrambling play there. Levi did really well on the left to get the ball away under a lot of pressure. Hingano with a crazy pass out, he got it away with good skill, but yeah, just not a controlled end really. It's not really what they needed.
Ronan Dixon back out there for Halifax. Ben Tibbs off his wing, making the hard yards. Halifax fans are the ones who are doing the singing at the moment here at the LNER. The place in the second round of the 1895 Cup went to the Knights last week down here, but it may well be a different outcome today. Tangata again. He's been hungry for the ball all day, as Adam Tangata. Shown up really well for Halifax. O'Brien, another one of their star men today. James Woodburn, Hall hasn't come back on. Jack Hansen still out there. Hanging kick that's going to bounce away and go dead. Rattles off the hoardings in front of the south stand, collected by Joe Brown, who late deputy, moving from wing to full-back to cover for Will Dagger, who pulled out in the warm-up and, by the way, walked past me midway through the first half. Looked possibly like a hamstring injury. Ben Jones-Bishop in off his wing. It's just not working for the Knights today. This Halifax defence has been all-encompassing, suffocating at times, Mick, hasn't it?
Speed, the line speed. It's a bit like the reverse. York's line speed was like Halifax's last week.
Yep.
It's reversed this week.
Yep. And they've got that advantage that they're desperate to hang on to get them to 3-0.
Yeah.
3-3, I should say. It's York that go 3-0. Little cut back inside from Hingano, gets the ball. Sam Cook, bit of space in front of him. Great tackle, fabulous tackle from Louis Jouffre, the full-back, about 15 metres out. But here come the Knights again, ball back inside and pass straight into a Halifax player. And again, just frantic harem-scarum rugby league from the Knights with no end result. Looked promising when Sam Cook broke, but great tackle from the full-back, Mick.
It was. Again, Hingano there opened them up a bit. Sam Cook going through and just not clinical enough York today.
One Knights fan there in front of me, his frustrations got the better of him. He's called it a day. Ben Crooks, one of the players that didn't feature last week, but he's shown up well today as Ben Crooks, particularly in defence. Just James Woodburn hauled back out in the action with looks as though he's got a couple of packets of cotton wool shoved up either nose. Either nostril, I should say, not either nose. He ain't got two of them. Knights back in possession from the kick. Ball's come out. Referee's given a penalty, ripped out by James Saltonstall.
Well, you can't say York haven't had opportunities in this half. Most of the players been in the Halifax's half or in good ball for York. Just can't break this Halifax defence.
No. Liam Harris puts the penalty into touch into the west stand on the far side. The Knights tap through Holyfield and go again. We were talking about James Saltonstall earlier. He's been a good servant at Halifax, hasn't he? In over 160 games, Mick.
Really?
And a good try-scoring ratio too.
He has. And I remember when he was a young lad, and you see these lads now at this, 160 games down the line, makes me feel old.
Again, just Knights fans not happy with the speed of the play, the ball and what was going in there. The Knights get to within 20 once more. How many times today, but no end result. Joe Brown tries to step through, and again the Halifax defence have him ensnared. It is 12 points to 0 to Halifax Panthers. We are 15 minutes from full time. Hingano again trying to work something. Ball out wide, chance for Ben Jones-Bishop.
Yes.
This time the Knights have scored, and it is the man on his second debut for the York Knights, Ben Jones-Bishop, from the pass of Atingano. Atingano stepped past an attempted tackle, found space to find Ben Jones-Bishop, and the experienced Jamaican winger just had enough about him to step back inside and create the opportunity to get the Knights on the board. And just with 15 minutes to go, a glimmer of hope, Mick.
Definitely, and Hingano is the man. He's had a couple of half chances to open up Halifax over the last sort of quarter of an hour, and there he had to delay his pass a little bit there just to reset himself before he got the ball out. And well taken by Ben Jones-Bishop to step inside. Just gathered a few more metres in just to try and give Liam Harris a bit of an easy kick. It's kickable. What is he, about 5 or 6 metres in from touch?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more than that, Mick.
Yep.
But kick to come from Liam Harris, and Harvey Reynolds comes off after a short stint, and the experience of Brendan Santee to add some might to the Knights' cause over this last 15 minutes. Liam Harris with the kicking duties. It would of course have been Will Dagger if he'd not broken down in that warm-up. Not an easy kick for a right-footed kicker. It really does need to bisect the sticks, this one, and it's flown wide on the left side, so it's 12 points to 4.
That was important, that kick.
Yeah. So 15 to go, well, less than that now, 13 minutes to go. It is York Knights 4, Halifax Panthers 12. First time the Halifax defence has been breached today, and it was Ben Jones-Bishop. Change for Halifax, Will Colcott. Looks as though he's come off. Restart kick caught by Levi Edwards. That familiar little hitch kick as he approaches the onrush in defence. The Knights deep in their own half, and they need to be at the other end of the field. They still need 2 scores. Jordy Thompson swats off Adam Tangata. Brendan Santee, and again just stiff, strong tackling. Sam Cook to Hingano. Hingano becoming more and more involved and trying to be more and more expansive, I think, to unlock this Halifax defence, Mick.
He is, definitely. He's the one that can do it.
On the last for the Knights, they're going to kick from deep in their own half. They're only 30 metres from their own line. Liam Harris didn't really get too much elevation on it, but he does manage to split Ben Tibbs and Louis Jouffre, and Ben Tibbs just had to readjust that ball. Adam Tangata's just been off to get an extensive bandage applied to that right leg, and he's just unwrapped it and taken it off.
Too tight, I think.
Yeah, or dragging him down. He's left it behind anyway. Halifax in possession, just short of halfway. Brandon Douglas, great early stint by the prop forward. Jack Hansen, Woodburn Hall to Tangata, shorn of his bandage. He was at least 5 miles an hour quicker there as he picked that ball up, Mick.
Yeah.
George Whitby, scorer of the first try for Halifax, hanging kick. Picked very easily by Levi Edwards, but heading for the touchline, throws the ball backwards, keeps the ball alive. Knights have lost 10 metres. Joe Brown seeks to retrieve that and can't really do so.
Saved him there though, Levi. He was going to go in touch. Halifax would have got the ball back. So,
and let's say it again at risk of repeating ourselves so many times, great defence from Halifax. They got 3 men there forcing him towards the touchline. Halifax now caught offside.
Halifax giving York a bit here, giving the ball back, another penalty.
Yeah,
should be able to get some field position.
Shoulder charge got into Cameron Worsley. Didn't see who the offender was, didn't see who put his hand up. Ronan Dixon was looking a little bit admonished. Apologies to my mate Ronan if it wasn't him. Harris to Hingano to Santi. Santi gets the job of running the ball in and has mishandled. He takes exception to it. He doesn't think he has. Gets that annoying pat on the head from Zach McComb. And there we are, the Ali cry goes up because the Halifax fans beginning to fancy remaining at the top of the Championship division. Kyle Eastman down there just adopted his no sweat boys. We've got this pose on the touchline. Ben Crooks, Halifax back in possession, and it's their errors the Knights just absolutely can't afford as we move into the last 10 minutes here at the LNER, BBC Radio York, covering the York Knights all season long. Home and away will be a battle in a fortnight's time, where the Knights may well still be looking for that first championship win. And at the moment, Mick, they've got to repel this latest Halifax foray. Knock on. Jake Fairbank, the offender. Knights form the scrum pretty quickly. Cam Worsley determines where it's going, or rather the Knights determine where it's going, with a bit of help from the referee ushering Halifax there, and then the clock goes off. 12-4, Halifax Panthers lead. Knights won it 32-20 last week, but they've been, in all honesty, been the better side, Mick.
They have, yeah, they have. They've been certainly defensively really strong, really put York under pressure.
Terrible sloppy pass into Brendan Santi, and they gave him no opportunity to make any meters at all, just had to catch the ball and sort of flop to the turf. And then once more Halifax in the form of Fairbank very quickly off the defensive line. Another horrible pass from Matt Ingano that Brendan Santi took under his chin, but the Knights just about managed to rumble into Fax territory. Here's Sam Cook, and again just precious few line breaks for the Knights today. Halifax have been very, very concentrated in what they've done in that defensive line. Hingano Tries to spring the trap. Still going, finds a bit of space. Ball back inside. Levi Edwards at pace.
Yes.
Chance here for the Knights. Holyfield goes under the post. Hingano again. He has the magic. He certainly has the magic. And it was Hingano's run. He got a wonderful run back inside from Levi Edwards. And from there, Holyfield was on his shoulder. And the Knights score with about 7 minutes to go. And it is 12 points to 8 to Halifax.
Just shows how important the previous kick by Liam was. Unfortunately, he didn't get it. You know, it would have been headed into 12 all here. Very, very interesting 7 minutes coming up now. Great, fantastic run from Hingano, getting around the outside there and getting the ball back inside to Levi.
Yeah, and how important was the pace of Levi Edwards, because he did cut through the Halifax defence, didn't he? You may know that from the cheers that Liam Harris has spotted that conversion, and it's just a 2-point ball game, and Halifax won't be in any hurry to restart this. But it was Holyfield with the try under the post.
Yeah, it was always going to be Hingano. He's coming to this game a lot more towards the end now. And it was him who got around the outside. Great run around the outside. Got the ball back into Levi, who just just sprinted towards the post and found Ollie for the try. Great try by York, and this is going to be a really interesting 6.5 minutes coming up.
It is 6:42. The clock says as Louis Jouffre puts the ball on the kicking tee, and we've sort of got down to fingernail biting time, Mick, now.
Absolutely.
Levi Edwards pouches the restart kick, goes to the reliable Geordie Thompson, but Halifax again very, very keen to get up there.
Halifax are giving penalties away in this area a couple of times in this half. It's just what we need right now to get field position.
Mick Ramsden at the side of me trying to talk a penalty.
The physicality of the defence, so it could happen at any time. They're flying out of the line of Halifax.
Yep. Here's Liam Harris, bit of speed. Kieran Buchanan cuts back, tries to cut back past Ben Tibbs. Eventually collared by Ben Crooks, and east to the ground, just short of halfway.
No.
Oh, awful pass from Paul McShane. Back to Ben Jones-Bishop. And here's a set restart.
That's all right.
Somebody behind me in the crowd said they weren't square, and he was absolutely right on the money. Connor Bailey, and you can hear the Knights fans now trying to put a breath of wind into the Knights' sails to get them down for this score. 5 minutes to go. Sam Cook drives the ball in hard. The Knights are 33 from the Halifax line. They trail by 2. Jesse D gets the offload to McShane. Knights keeping the ball alive. Back to that man, Hingano. Hingano close down this time. Hansen, one of those in at the tackle. The other one, Will Colcott. McShane, Santi, straight and hard. Gets the Knights within the 20. On the last repeat set needed. What do the Knights do here, Mick Ramsden? Here comes Sam Cook. Sam Cook to Hingano going on the power play.
Oh.
Joe Brown comes out of his possession. Ball rebounds back into Joe Brown, who was going to touch it down and celebrate. The referee and the touch judge in conversation at the moment. What's he giving here? He's waving his arms about all over here, is Cameron Worsley. It looks like a man in a keep fit session.
Does he give a penalty?
I think it's the okey-dokey, Mick. Yes, I think he's given the Knights a penalty. I think tackled without the ball. So the Knights, big chance now. He obviously didn't think there was enough advantage to let Joe Brown touch the ball down and give the Knights a try, but they've got 5 tackles in the bag. Here comes Santi driving hard. Actually, it was Sam Cook. Stopped just short in the 19 shirt. 2 points in the game. Knights 10, Halifax 12. Hingano to Harris. Harris short ball to Connor Bailey. Good defence from Halifax again. About 7 out. Kieran Buchanan gets to the play the ball. Here's Harris again. Harris looking for options. Hangs on. Hingano changes direction, drops the ball. And it is Halifax ball with 4 minutes to go. That might be it, Mick. I think the Knights might get one last possession, and it's how well they restrict Halifax now. And they've been caught offside. In fact, I think it's a high tackle.
They've absolutely thrown everything at Halifax.
Yeah.
It's, you know, credit to their defence. They've worked really hard to keep York out, but York have had the lion's share of attack and a good ball this half, and really hard to break down.
So Halifax back in possession, and it was a penalty, so they've gained some meterage from the kick. 3:17 to go here at the LNER in this championship tussle, and it's been a tussle all day. It's been tight, defensively dominated. The Knights, as I say, they may get one last go. Adam O'Brien, sensible stuff, and another penalty for a high tackle on Adam O'Brien. Sam Cook, I think, the offender. And at the moment, the Knights are handing things to Halifax. 2 penalties in a row, and they're progressing this ball down the field. And as I say, the Knights are only going to get one last go. Akumatai down on the touchline here with a rueful look on his face as he wanders up with the water bottles. Halifax have got the ball into touch, looking to hang on. They led 12-0 at half-time. They lead now 12 points to 10. But we have only 2 minutes 18 to go. Colcott again. Brendan Santee hangs on to him. Joe Brown lends his weight to the tackle. 14 out. Whitby, short ball into Brandon Douglas. Tries to go through the front door, can't do so. Brought down 3 or 4 out. O'Brien looks for options. Will he go short? Didn't seem like a great option, but cutting back against the grain and almost getting through the Knights' defence, but held up, eased over the line, back to the 10. Clock immediately stopped by Cameron Worsley at 1:36. Louis Jouffre in the line, and this time the Knights have got him. That was about where he went in for his try. That was also important late in the first half. The Knights lost by a point to Toulouse, in danger of losing by 2 to Halifax. It is the handover. The Knights have got the length of the field to go. They're about 3 metres from their own line, Mick Ramsden.
They're just going to have to throw caution to wind here.
Yeah. Oh, his ball's been stolen by Brandon Douglas. That's it. And Halifax have scored. Brandon Douglas has gone over for the try. Ball stolen, pulled out the possession of Levi Edwards, 1-on-1 by Brandon Douglas, and goes over for the try. And that's it. It's all over in the last minute. Fabulous bit of work by the prop forward. Just ripped the ball 1-on-1 as Levi Edwards attempted to run the ball on the first tackle.
It's a shame. York have really had a good goal in this half. They've not been perfect by any means. They've had a go and they've had plenty of opportunities to win the game, really. They've had plenty of good ball, and the Halifax defence has just been too good for them, just not being able to break them down. They've got a couple of tries this half. It's a shame that the Liam Harris goal never went. Might have been slightly different there, 12-all. And
I'll ask you for your man of the match, Knights and Halifax-wise in a moment. Mick Ramsden as Louis Jouffre sets the ball up, but Brandon Douglas, good strength, ripped the ball from Levi Edwards, who was intent on just getting to ground and playing it as quick as he could. And I'll correct myself, the Knights are not going to lose by 2 points, they're going to lose by 8. As Louis Jouffre, I can't imagine he's going to miss this one. He's missed 2 absolute sitters. Actually, it's George Whitby with the kicking duties.
Surely not again. 3rd time.
Yeah, it is George Whitby. And Whitby bisects the post. And Halifax do win by 18 points to 10 as the hooter goes. Mick Ramsden alongside me. Man of the match in the night shirt.
It's
difficult one.
It's probably the most difficult one because although it's been a frustrating game to watch, and York have at times, you know, been victim of making errors and basically just giving the ball to Halifax. And it's been a shame that, but there has been periods where York have been really good as well, like particularly in the last 20 minutes when they've really thrown everything at Halifax. It's tough to pick a man at match, if I'm really honest, Andy. Jordan Thompson's worked tirelessly down the middle against a set of middles for Halifax who have been extremely strong. Flying out the line, it's been very physical down the middle, but I'm going to say Jordan Thompson because of the amount of effort he's put in.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mick. Jordy Thompson, and overall Halifax pick out their best player of the game as they players go across and celebrate with the fans behind the sticks in the south stand.
I'm going to go with the man of match for Halifax for a player who just really ran the show in the first half, and that's this young lad, 18-year-old George Whitby, who I just thought was fantastic in the first half. He didn't get as much opportunity in the second half, purely because Halifax were defending most of it. But yeah, real quality play. I think he's a player that we'll see more of in the future. Yeah,
there we are, Mick Ramsden. Adam O'Brien for me. As the Knights players come towards the main stand, I'll quickly run you through the action of the second half. As I said, it was 12-0 to Halifax. It was 8-0 to Halifax at half-time. 44 minutes, Halifax got the first score of the second half. It was Liam Harris' error on the right side. He threw the ball into touch in his own half. And from there, James Woodburn-Hall went close. They moved the ball onto the right, and Louis Jouffre slipped past Ati Ngannou to touchdown. He missed a fairly kickable conversion. Liam Harris's restart kick was mishandled by Brad Graham and presented the Knights with an opportunity they couldn't take. On 51 minutes, Jordy Thompson was alleged to have, or adjudged to have, ripped the ball out of Halifax possession. Brad Graham it was, and Louis Jouffre again managed to rebound the ball off the right-hand post when it seemed easier to kick it. 65 minutes, the Knights got their first points, and it was Ati Ngannou was becoming more and more influential. He made space on the right side and found Ben Jones-Bishop on his second debut for the Knights, stepped inside and touched down. Liam Harris unfortunately couldn't put the conversion on. 73 minutes with the Knights 12-4 down. Ati Ngannou again found space on the left side. Beautiful reverse pass to Levi Edwards. His pace took him deep into the Halifax defence, and he offloaded to Holyfield, who went in under the post. Liam Harris kicked that one, and it was a 2-point game. The Knights then attacked down the left side. Ball broke loose. Joe Brown touched it down, but the referee adjudged there was a penalty in back play to the Knights, so it remained 10 points to 12. And the Knights really couldn't get another strike in, and very, very late in the game, on what was the last play of the game, Levi Edwards was trying to come out of defence. He was only 5 metres from his own line, tried to get to ground, play the ball quickly, and Brandon Douglas, the Halifax prop, simply just ripped the ball one-on-one and crashed in at the side of the post. And George Whitby it was who'd been tasked with the conversion job, and duly delivered. It finished York Knights 10, Halifax Panthers 18. Halifax continue at the top of the table, 3 wins out of 3 for the Knights. It's absolutely 0 still from their 3 starts. Mick, thanks for your input today. Thanks for being with us, been brilliant. Any last thoughts about the Knights and Mark Applegath and you know, the effect of today on morale? Or
it's it's a tough one now. 3 games without a win, and I don't think he's been in this situation at the club before, so since he came as coach. But he's a great coach, he's Mark, and they're a good set of players, and I just hope that they can all pull round. Look at Batley now. I think Batley's the next game, is it, Andy? Tough game away, but and just keep together. They all keep together, and they get the win in the coming weeks and get the confidence. Because it was a tough one today. Halifax are a good side, there's no doubt about it. They'll be up there somewhere at the top of the championship. But that's where York want to be as well. So not the end of the road for them by any means. It's early season, long way to go.
Yeah, starting to mirror last season in many ways. The injury toll keeps creeping up. We lost Will Dagger in the warm-up today. And just games that are sort of slipping out of the grasp, a bit like a bar of soap in some ways. Make it,
Yeah.
you know, again today it was there for the winning, but just couldn't find that cohesion to unlock what was a really good Halifax defensive effort.
It was strong, wasn't it? And it was, yeah, they came flying at York all the way through the game, and they were difficult to break. Yeah, and it's losing Will Dagger at the start of the game was a psychological boost for Halifax and a blow for York. And you know, he's obviously a very, very good attacking threat for York, and they missed him today.
Yeah, there we are. That's Mick Ramsden, and the outcome down here, the Knights slipping to another defeat against Halifax Panthers. Kyle Eastman's side overturning that result last week in the 1895 Cup to come up with the goods. They won the game down here by 18 points to 10. We'll try and get Mark Applegath before the end of the programme. I would think, looking at the time, it's possibly unlikely. But if you want to get in touch, text, tweet or WhatsApp, please do before the end of the programme. Thanks for listening, and in the meantime, we'll hand you back to James Hogarth in the studio.